I try. That's why I warned you. Okay, today what we do is introduction to percent. I bring clean copy. Today we're going to go ahead and introduce the percent proportion and the concept of proportions in general, and talk about a few different ways to work these. So I need you guys to go ahead and write this into your notes first. So setting up proportions with percent. Every time we're doing one of these problems, this is the first thing I need to see on your paper, with the addition of a 100 right here. Okay? Every problem we're going to work probably for about the next 2 weeks is going to come down to this right here. The first thing you're going to do is the number in front of the percent goes above the 100. Basically, we're going to take the percent and change it into a fraction. Okay? So that tells you why the 100's on the bottom, right? The percent means out of 100. That's why we're doing this. Then there's two other key words that you're going to need to focus in on. Those words are is and of. Okay? The is referring to the part of the other side. The of is referring to the whole of the other side. Now I'm also going to give you guys an order for these to go in. The first thing I want you to do is put in the percent. Can anybody guess why? Because why? Okay, but what's special about percent that would make it first? It's super easy, guys. How do I know what the percent is in my problem? I see that sign. Okay? So the first thing we do, the number in front of percent. In front of the percent sign. Okay, so that's the first thing that we're going to put in that goes over the 100. Why? Because percent is out of 100. The second thing, and actually as a side note, if they don't give me the percent, guess what's going to go there? What did I put for something that I don't know? Devin?
X or Y, or any variable.
Excellent. That's the word I was looking for, is a variable. So if no percent, it's a variable. Now, as an additional part to your notes here, one spot will have a variable. Okay, that's what we're doing, is we're solving for that. The second thing we're going to do is actually the of. Okay? The reason is, the way that goes there is the number right after the word of. The reason we do that is it's very consistent. The of is always located right after it. Now do be careful, it can talk about the of something and then tell you the something later, but realize that whatever is after the of is what goes there. If they don't tell me the of, guess what goes there? X, my variable. Okay? Number 3 is the most confusing, and that's the is. The reason the is confusing is, depending where in the sentence, especially in a word problem, that you'll see the is, sometimes it's the number before the is, if it's the beginning of the sentence. Sometimes it's the number after is, if it's at the end of the sentence. So because that switches so much, we're just going to do the third last, the is last. So the 3 gets whatever is left. So if I've got 2 numbers, that's going to be my variable. If I've got a variable already located, it's whatever the last number is. So whatever is left goes in that third spot. So this is really, guys, what today is about. So we'll be practicing this. So don't stress too much if it doesn't make any sense yet. So here's your hint. When talking about parts and wholes, something is a part of something whole. Okay? So the part, the quantity associated with the word is. The whole is the number following the word of. That's always going to be the case. And your percent refers to the number with the percentage sign. Everybody good so far? Mm-hmm. So let's take a look at an example to help make some of this make sense. We're going to use our circle graph. Suppose there are 300 students at your middle school. Determine the number of students that have chips as a snack. So they're giving us our base setup. Let's go ahead and throw our 100 in right off. So looking at my circle graph, what is the percentage for chips, Caden? 18%. So where does that 18 go? On top of the 100. Now what we have to figure out is what was that third piece of information they gave us? Is it the of or the is? I don't see an of in here, so now we need to kind of think part and whole. So we know the number they gave us is 300 students. Do you think that is the part, or is that the whole?
That's the whole.
Whole, right? Makes sense. That's all of the students. So that's our whole. So now we're back to our mystery box. How do I go from 100 to 300? Times 3. So guess what I do with 18?
Multiply by 3.
Times 3, which is 54. Okay, so our answer is 54 students like chips. Making sense so far? Ethan, good? So let's look at a couple more. The cafeteria at Midtown surveyed 575 students about their favorite food. Determine the number of students that responded for each of the following. First one they gave us is chicken. So we gave you the basic frame, but we didn't put the 100 in yet, so let's do that. So what is my percent? That's our first thing. So 8. Now the other number they gave us is at 575. Is that the whole or the part? So that goes where? Bottom. Okay, so now here's where we start looking at a few different things that we can do. Because is it easy to go from 100 to 575? No? Okay, so it is?
Yeah, just move the decimal place.
So what do I multiply by?
Or you multiply it by... No, you divide it by 100.
100 divided by 100 is 1.
Wait, I'm confused now.
Here's the side I have two numbers on, right?
You would multiply...
So I start on the side I have two numbers on, and I say, how do I go from here to here?
You would multiply by 5 and 7,500. You would divide it by 4.
Okay? So Devin figured it out, especially because it's on the 100 side. He just multiplied by 5 and 7,500. It's 5.75. But for those of you that don't see that, let's look at a couple other options. One is we can do what we call step back. So if I don't have a number here that's easy to get to, I can simplify on this side to see if I get a number that's going to make it easier for me. So what can I divide 8 and 100 by? 2. So divide those by 2 gives me 4 and 50. Now here's a little hint. If I'm stepping back, I can cross that out so I don't lose track of where I'm at. Okay? Now don't scribble it all out. You still need to be able to see it. I need to be able to see it so I can see your work. Is it still easy to go from 50 to 575? No. Still not easy, right? Can I still simplify?
Yes.
I can do what? 2 again gives me 2 and 25. Jeez, that is really not working on this side. That's a 2 there, guys. Sorry. So we're around 25 to 575. Can I do that? Yeah. So 25 is going to go to 57 twice. It's going to give me 2 left over. 25 goes into 75 3 times with nothing left over. So here's one of the keys there, guys. We're going from this fraction now, not that first one. So if I'm going 25 times 23, guess what I need to do? 2 times 23. 2 times 23 gives us 46. So what's my answer? 46. I'm going to show you guys another way that will work when your numbers won't simplify to make something you can find. It's called cross multiplying. Cross multiplying only works when I have this beautiful equal sign in between my two fractions. Okay, one thing I always get nervous of is students getting confused when we get to multiplying fractions. If that's a times, you don't cross multiply. You only do this when it's an equals. So when I cross multiply, all I'm going to do is write out the equation that ends up resulting. So I didn't know this one initially, right? That's what I was solving for. So initially that was my x. So what I do is follow my arrow, 100 times x equals my other side, 575 times 8. Remember, we're now using the dot instead of an x. Show multiplication, right? Because now that I'm using variables like x, I don't want to get confused. So here's how we solve equations. I just draw a circle my variable, draw a line through the equal sign. That should help you focus in to see what number is with my variable, right? What number is with my variable, Toyla? Here's the variable. There's my wall. What number is with it? We're down here. What number is with my variable? 100. It's not a trick question, guys. It's literally right there. So, 100 is with it. So now, when I write it side by side, what operation is that? Multiplication. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So in order to get my variable by itself to solve for it, I'm going to do the opposite operation of the number that's with it. So instead of multiplying by 100, I'm not going to divide by 100. But to do that to one side, I have to do it to the other side of my equation as well in order to keep my equation equal. So I now have 100 divided by 100, which equals 1, which is really what I'm shooting for. So I have 1 times x. What does 1 times x equal?
1. Oh, no, whatever x. 1 times x equals x. What is it? Whatever the x.
Doesn't matter.
No, 1 times x. Because it doesn't
Really?
matter.
What's 1 times 10?
No.
What's 1 times 100?
100.
What's 1 times a million?
Million.
What's 1 times 87?
87.
So does it matter what the other number is, T?
No.
T, does it matter?
No.
It's going to be whatever that number is, right? What property is that? You guys probably haven't heard this one before yet, so let's add this one in your notes. It's called multiplicative. Multiplicative identity. So I don't know who said identity property, but that was actually really good. Of 1 means any number times 1 equals itself. Why is that important? Because algebraically, that's exactly what we're trying to do, is get this variable by itself. So now it essentially is. Because I now know 1 times x is x, so whatever's on the other side is what it equals. Okay? So now I'm going to show you guys a little advanced math technique called reductions. This is why Miss McShann doesn't like this piece, because this is a little more advanced. So if you don't follow along on this, don't freak out. This is just an option. We've always got our step back and our mystery box, right? So hopefully you guys are getting more comfortable with that. This is just something you'll be able to do literally through high school. And then it comes back down to our 4 key numbers, 2, 3, 5, and 7. The whole key is I've got to find a number on top and a number on bottom I can divide by. So is there a number on top and bottom I can divide by 2? 8 and 100, right? So if I divide them both by 2, 8 divided by 2 is 4. I'm going to erase this circle to hopefully get this a little more clear for you guys. So this 8 I've now made down to a 4. So I divided by 2. The 100, I divide by 2, I get 50. Is there another one I can do by 2? What?
450.
450. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Is there another one I can do by 2?
Technically, yes, but I go into...
I don't want to go into decimals. I want evenly.
Okay, then no.
What about 3?
No.
What about 5?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, 2 can't be divided by 5.
No, but 575 can. It can be either number. I just need one on top and one on bottom.
Okay.
Okay? So 25 divided by 5 is 5. 575 divided by 5. 5 divided by 5 gives me a 1. 7 divided by 5 is a 1 with a 2 left over. 25 divided by 5 is a 5. So that's 575. Now check again. Can I still divide by 5?
Mm-hmm.
So divide by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 divided by 115 divided by 5 is going to go twice with 1 left over. 3. So I have 2 numbers left on top now. 23 times 2 gives me
46.
So, this looks a little confusing, especially your first time ever trying it. But this is one, if you guys will practice it, this is actually going to get real easy for you, especially with your 4 key numbers. And it's going to make all of this math a lot easier. Now, another option is, I could have just multiplied 575 times 8. So if I had taken 575 times 8, man, this board sometimes. That gives me a 40, 56 and 4 is 60, 40 and 6, 46, so I got 4,600 divided by 100, 46. The problem with that is a lot more chance of math errors. So I'd rather have you guys get comfortable with reductions, especially with the 2, 3, 5, 7 magic numbers, and be able to do that. Yes, Devin?
On the reduction,
Yes.
if you have 3 numbers left over, and none of them are 1, do you have to multiply all of them by each other?
Yeah, you'll multiply the top 2 ones and then divide by the bottom. And that will occasionally happen, especially as the numbers get bad. That just means you're going to end up with a decimal in your answer.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so that's that one. Let's go ahead and look at our next one. There it is 20%, so it goes over by 100. 20. Did anything change on the other side? No, still over 575, right? So I think most of you are going to enjoy the setback method still while these numbers are easy. So I'm going to show you that one first. How do I step back from 20 and 100? What can I divide by? 5. So if I divide that by 5, that's going to get me 4 and 25. Is 25 going to easily go into 575? Yes? Okay, so what's it going to be? Times?
5 and 7,500.
Do what?
23. That's what we did last time, 23.
So, if it's still the same number, it still works. Because 25 goes into 57 twice, 7 left over, 25 goes into 75 3 times. So now I'm doing 4 times 23, which equals 92. Which makes sense, it's just double of the other number. Okay? Questions? Questions on our first page? Okay, go ahead and turn the page. Let's go to page 2. Okay, now is where we're going to start mixing it up on you a little bit. So here's where it gets really important to be able to follow those numbers. So again, the first thing we start with is the percent. So does somebody see the, we'll start with our, put in 100 here. Somebody see our percent?
30.
So?
30.
So what goes over the 100?
30.
Somebody see the word of?
Yeah.
Is there something right after of?
Yeah.
What is it?
80.
80, so where does that go? The bottom. So that means I don't know this one, right? Okay? So is it easy to go from 100 to 80?
No.
Nope, so can I step this one back?
Yes.
What would I divide by?
10.
10. So I divide by 10. That gets me 3 and 10. Cross that one out because we step back. Can I go from 10 to 80 easily? By what? Times 8. So guess what I do to the top? Times 8, which gives me
24.
What's the easy way, Pete?
Six times 5 is 30,
Yeah, that means it's probably not reproducible, so I would be very careful about whatever you think you're trying to do. We'll see, especially if the numbers get harder, Pete. That's the problem. Yes, Devin?
I also found a different way to do these.
There's several different ways. I mean, I've already taught you 3 today, and that's actually just touching the surface.
What I did was I reduced the of, or I
Can't really reduce the of because I don't know what the is.
well, basically I made a rate. And so I figured out how much was in 1% and then multiplied that by what?
So is it 0.3?
So 1% I found is 0.8. And so I multiplied 0.8 by 30%. Or 1% is 0.8. And so 30% is 0.8 times.
So you just said 30 over 100 times 0.8.
Yeah.
That works. Also, that is your ratio constant from that initial set. Most students aren't going to see that, though, so it's easier to step back.
Hard to explain, easy to do.
It's not that hard to explain. You just multiply by 0.8. Multiply by 8 tenths. Okay, what about the next one? So, 15 over 100. That's in my of,
Yes.
which is 60. Is it easy to go from 100 to 60? So, okay, I step back on my 15 and my 100. By what? 5. Divide that by 5 gets me 3 and 20. Can I go easily 20 to 60? By what? 3. So 3 times 3 is? Make sense? Okay, so now try it on your own. You've got 8 minutes to finish off the paper. Go. So if you set these up, guys, they're really not that bad. Again, it starts with putting them in order. So first thing I do is my percent. What's the percent in the first one? 55. I see that word of. That gives me 220. Okay? Can I simplify this side? Divided by 5 gets me 11 and 20. How do I go 20 to 220? You can't add. It's got to be multiply or divide. Times 11. So I do 11 times 11 and I get 121. Next one. Again, go that 100 in right away. 25%, they gave me the number 4. What can I divide 25 and 100 by? 5. Gives me 5 and 20. Can I simplify that again?
Yes.
Yeah? Divided by 5 gives me 1 and 4. Okay? How do I go from 4 to 4? Times 1. So 1 times 1 is? And I will point out, especially in this next one, guys, marking your text. Really, really important. Oh, we just gave you that as a key math word, right? We said is and of are 2 key ones. Oh, the 300 sheep in a flock, 30% are white. What is the total number of white sheep in the flock? There's my question. So, start with my percent. So that goes over 100. So the key is that the 300, the of, or the is? Of. I mean, number 1, it's basically right after the of. Number 2, that's my total number of sheep, right? How do I go from 100 to 300? So 30 times 3 is? 90. So there are 90 white sheep. Because we're now looking at a word problem, we'll throw in our full sentence answer, correct? Make sense? Next one. The original price for a pair of shoes is $44. What row? Make sure we're still recording. Yep, it's still going. So the original was 44. What word issues? The sale price is 25% off the original price. What is the discount? So that you need to start with your base model. My percent was 25. Okay. 44. Is that my is or my of? The whole, right? That was the original price. Don't know this one. Is the 100 going to go to 44 easy?
No.
Nope. So let's try to step down. Divide by 25. So you sat in one step, great. If it took you 2 steps, you still got there. How do I go from 4 to 44? What's our mystery box? Times 11. So I do 1 times, and I get 11. The discount is $11. Actually, let me double check that. Yeah. Questions on those pages? Starting to make sense, guys? Okay. So we're going to try to rock your world a little bit, and now start mixing it up. Okay? Let's start off with our base again. We know this is percent over 100. And is and of. I would literally write that at the top of everything you do for about the next few weeks, because they're all going to come down to this. And if you need to, you can add in those numbers too to help remind you the order. Going 1, 2, 3. As you start the problems, and I'll be honest, this is normally what these problems look like mathematically. This is just how we ask you. So being able to break these down is really important. So start off with your base structure. Immediately write that down. Now we're going to start filling in the pieces. So what is the percent? Okay. What is my of?
It doesn't give it. It only gives your
Of. Do I know my of?
No.
No. So if I don't know it, what goes there? So 75, whatever's left goes up here. Can I go 15 to 75 easily?
Yes.
Yes? Times 5. So what do I do at the bottom? Times 5. 5 times 5 gives me 500. So what was my percent on this problem? What was my part? What was my whole? Does that make sense? Is anybody else not making sense to you yet? Which part, Caden?
The top. I kind of got confused why you put the dots.
That's my mystery box. How did I go from 15 to 75? To help me keep track of what I'm doing. So I do it to both sides. Isaiah? Which part's confusing? So it's hard to find that percent sign, right? Is it hard to find the percent sign? Because you said all of it. Oh, it's not hard to find the percent sign? Oh, it's hard to write the number in front of the percent sign above 100. That's hard. That's hard? Oh, it's not? Oh, it's that word of. That of, I mean, 2 letters is really hard to find. It is, isn't it? But boy, if you really search hard and you find that word of, then you look for what's right after it. So if I read it, it says of. So do I know it? No. Oh, so it's really hard putting a variable when I don't know what it is. Okay, you put a variable if you don't know what it is. You use either. Most of the time we use x, just because. So it's really hard to figure out what's left, right? There's another number here. And also I got a little lazy on marking my text, so that could make it a little harder. So let's mark our text on this next one to make it easier. There's a number, here's my of. So start with our base frame. Do I know my percent? What is it, Isaiah?
36.
So what goes over 100?
36.
Does that make sense to you? Good. What is right after of? John? What's right after of? So do I know my of? So what do I put there? Variable. So what number is left? So here's my two numbers. So I'm always going to start on the side I've got two numbers. How do I go 36 to 9? 36 times 4 is 9?
Getting bigger or smaller? It's getting smaller.
Getting smaller, so I'm going to divide by 4. So here divided by 4 gives me
25.
25. So what was my percent? 36. What was my part?
9.
What was my whole?
25.
Okay, now we are really going to mix it up. 7, 10, here's my of, there's another math term. So start off with our base frame. What's my percent?
10. No, percent is 7.
No, it's 7 is an X. If you don't know what it is.
Or you're trying to find
Good here?
Because it doesn't have a percent.
It doesn't have percent. It says what percent? So do I know the percent? So what goes over 100? X, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find. What's right after of? 10. What's left? 7. Okay, now here's where it gets a little tricky. Now both my numbers are on this side. So I'm actually going the reverse way on this. So don't let that mess you up. How do I go from 10 to 100? Times 10. So guess what I do to the 7? Times 10, which is? So my percent is, my part was, my whole was, beginning to make more sense?
Yes.
Let's do one more together. Okay, 8 is what percent of 20? So start with our base frame again. So what is my percent? Isabel? Isabella? What's my percent? So what is it? My variable. What's my of, Andrew? 20. What's my is, Monty? That's what's left, right? Okay, so again, we're starting here. Now we're going in reverse. Don't let that mess you up. How do I go 20 to 100? Times 5. So I'm going to do 8 times 5, which is? Who is that? Jody, is that you? What's 8 times 5? 40. Okay, so what's my percent? 40. What's my part?
8.
What's my whole? 20. Okay, so we're down to about 5 minutes before lunch. I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes to do 2 problems, and then the last minute I'll solve them for you. So you've got 4 minutes. Try to knock these last 2 out. This one, the key part is understanding we don't know the of. That makes it 75 over 100, 90 over x. Can't really do that one easily. Let's do a step back. I'm going to do by 25, gives me 3/4. Darn it, didn't get it. Okay, go ahead and get lunch, guys. We'll finish when we get back. So here's the last ones. Clayton spent 60% of her money to buy a new television. The television cost $300. How much money did she have? So that's a big clue on what we need to do. So again, start out with our basic form with our percent and 100 and our other one. We know the percent really quickly is 60. So our key is now figuring out where that 300 goes. Now they didn't have it, actually, they do have it out. I missed it as I was going. Of her money. Do we know what her money was? That's what we're trying to find, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know that, so I put in a variable. The only number left is $300. How do I go from 60 to 300? I'm going bigger.
Now multiply by 5.
Multiply by 5. So guess what I do on the bottom?
Multiply by 5.
Multiply by 5. So my percent was 60. The part was the 300, and our whole was 500. So now we have the time back, and we got to finish that part off here. Our percent was 75. Our part was 90. Our whole was 120. So since the word problems, he has 120 songs in his library. And for our second one, he has technically had, because he spent part, total of $500. Starting to make sense? How you guys feeling on these? Give me a quick thumb meter. Thumb meter?
Is there anything better than thumbs up? I'm just going to go like this.
You can do a double.
Okay.
You're really good. Okay, so we're all looking pretty good. I don't see any downs. That's positive. What does that mean?
Wait, no, look.
Is it
All things
down? Like I'm really cool.
All things
I'm
up.
feeling okay. Or, yeah, I got this.
All things up.
Thumbs up. Great.
Both, huh? Hey, go ahead and turn the page again. Okay, we're going to give you guys, let's say, 12 minutes to do as many of these as you can. Okay. On the first one, really, really important, guys. I mean, I can't stress this enough. Marking your text. I mean, I talked to 3 different people that were having major issues. I said, mark your text. Once they marked their text, they were able to pull all this out. I mean, literally, am I asking you to do that much, guys? 20% of its value. Car lost $4,200 of value in the first year. How much did the car originally cost? Underline your question. Circle your terms and units. Box the math terms. Of is now a math term, right? So that's telling me my whole. So I start off with my setup. What's my percent? Tell me. Of its value. Do I know its value?
No.
No. So what goes down here? So what's left?
4,200.
Okay. So I just need my mystery box. How do I go from 20 to 4,200? Multiply by 210. So what do I do at the bottom? Multiply by 210. What was my percent? 20. What was my part? 3,200. What was my whole? 21,000. The value of the car was $21,000. Next one, store having to sell are 60% of the original price. A sweater is on sale for $30. What was the original price? So again, start with your basic frame. What was my percent? 60. Of the original price. Do I know the original price?
No.
So that goes down there. What was left?
$30.
Okay? Here's my side with 2. How do I go 60 to 30?
Divide by 2.
So what I do to 100?
Divide by 2.
So my percent was, part was 30, whole was 50. The original price was $50. The next one should have been pretty simple. He calculates he spends 75 minutes in a school day in science class. If he spends 500 minutes in school, what percent of the school day is in science? Start them out. Get your basic frame down. What's my percent?
We don't
I know. That's what the question's about. What was my whole? So there's really not an of in this one. So 500, and my part was, how do I go? Actually, here's the key. Both my numbers are on this side now, right? So now I'm actually going to the left. How do I go from 500 to 100? Divide by 5. So it's 75. I divide by 5, and I get 15. So that is, and here's the key, another key. Don't forget to put the percent sign on that. So it's 15%. My part was 75. My whole is 500. So he spends 15% of his day in science. Okay, unfortunately we're almost out of time, so at this point I'm just going to go over the homework real quick. So the homework, it's a maze. The nice thing about this is it's self-correcting. We do need you to show your work. If this is not enough space for you, use a separate piece of paper, but bring it to class so we have it to look at, okay? So I'll work this first one out for you. So we've got what is 40% of 80. So I start off with my base set, 40% of 80. Excuse me, I can't get to 80 easily. So another chance to reduce. I go down by 5 is going to get me 8 and 20, meaning I go times 4. 8 times 4 is 32 for my variable. One of the 3 lanes has to have your answer. So you color in that lane, in this case 32, and then you do the next problem. Okay? So you're going to do that all the way around until you end up at the finish. I will give you a hint. I haven't checked the answer key, but I'm pretty sure you don't hit every single circle.
No, you don't.
So just be aware of that. Any questions on how to do that piece? Okay, be very cautious. And if it helps you, go ahead right up top. Don't forget to write this down to keep you straight on what you need to do. Okay? So that's your work for today, guys. We're going to give you the test back now.